The notion that the science on climate change is a lie to manipulate Christians is a misconception that has been perpetuated by certain groups and individuals. This claim is often based on the idea that climate change is a hoax created to control people's behavior, particularly Christians, and to impose a specific worldview or agenda. However, this claim is not supported by scientific evidence and is often rooted in misinformation and a lack of understanding of the scientific method. Firstly, the scientific consensus on climate change is clear. It is real, it is happening, and it is primarily caused by human activities, such as the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation. This consensus is based on decades of research and data collection by scientists from around the world, using a variety of methods and techniques. The evidence for climate change is overwhelming and includes rising global temperatures, melting glaciers, sea level rise, and shifts in the distribution of plants and animals. Despite this overwhelming evidence, some individuals and groups claim that climate change is a lie or a hoax. They often point to natural climate variability, such as changes in solar radiation or volcanic eruptions, as the primary cause of climate change. However, these claims are not supported by scientific evidence and ignore the fact that human activities are releasing large amounts of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere, which are driving climate change. Another argument made by those who claim that climate change is a lie is that it is a plot to control people's behavior, particularly Christians. They claim that climate change is being used as a pretext to impose a specific worldview or agenda, such as socialism or environmentalism, on people. However, this claim is not supported by evidence and ignores the fact that climate change is a global problem that requires a global response. In reality, the scientific community is motivated by a desire to understand and describe the natural world, not to manipulate people's behavior. Scientists are driven by a passion for discovery and a commitment to uncovering the truth, regardless of the implications. The scientific method is designed to be objective and unbiased, and it is based on the collection and analysis of data, the formulation of hypotheses, and the testing of these hypotheses through experimentation and observation. Furthermore, the idea that climate change is a plot to manipulate Christians is a simplistic and misleading narrative. Climate change is a complex issue that affects people of all faiths and backgrounds, and it requires a nuanced and multifaceted response. Christians, like people of other faiths, have a moral and ethical obligation to care for the planet and to protect the most vulnerable members of society, who are often the most affected by climate change. In conclusion, the science on climate change is not a lie or a hoax, and it is not a plot to manipulate Christians or anyone else. The evidence for climate change is clear and overwhelming, and it is based on decades of research and data collection by scientists from around the world. The scientific community is motivated by a desire to understand and describe the natural world, not to manipulate people's behavior. Christians, like people of other faiths, have a moral and ethical obligation to care for the planet and to protect the most vulnerable members of society, and they should be informed by the best available scientific evidence when making decisions about climate change. By working together and relying on the best available science, we can address the challenges posed by climate change and create a more just and sustainable world for all.